Hello, everybody, and happy, I think it's a Thursday.
Thursday.
Thursday, yay, there we go. I hope everybody's having a good day, and this is going to be a little bit of a different video. As you notice, I'm the one talking, which I haven't done in many videos yet, so hopefully we'll have some fun today. I got a nice little piece of paper here about what I'm going to talk about because it's an interesting topic for me, at least. And for those who have who know, we grew up in California. We grew up in, not grew up, but we lived in Anaheim. We went to Disneyland almost daily for 5 years, almost 5 years worth of annual passes, and we lived within 2 to 3 miles of there. It was very easy to go. We enjoyed it a lot. It was a lot of fun. So when we moved to Florida, one of our big things was we wanted to make sure we were close to Disney World. What I want to do is I want to compare the two a little bit. Just for those who live in California, you know, there's people out here in Florida too. It might give you guys a good comparison if you haven't been to Disneyland or you haven't been very much. But, you know, there's a lot of differences, and it's interesting. It's been a little weird, and I don't want to say I dislike one over the other, but there's definitely some things that are harder to get used to when you've grown up with one, and that's true for everybody. There's people who love Disney World or Magic Kingdom much more than they like Disneyland, and that's completely understandable. This is really going to be a comparison of Magic Kingdom and Disneyland since they're the most comparable parks, but I thought it'd be interesting to let you guys know a little bit about them and why I really do like one over the other, which, if you can't already tell, it is Disneyland, but stay with me and we're going to really go through a lot of the interesting facts between the two. Okay, so first off, let's talk about a couple of facts between the two parks and some of the things that you're going to find interesting, or at least I found interesting right off the get-go. Anybody who's been to Disney World or to Magic Kingdom knows it is a lot bigger. The pathways are much larger. It's easier to walk around. Those are some of the greatest things about it compared to Disneyland, where the paths are very small and very, you know, sometimes it's very crowded. You get frustrated with the number of people that are there. Okay, so one of the things is when you look at the parks again, you know, the sizes are definitely much different. When we look at Magic Kingdom is actually 142 acres versus Disneyland, it's only 85 acres. But one of the major differences between these two parks is the capacity. And we know that Disneyland has closed down many times because of capacity. Actually, to my knowledge, it's closed down more than Magic Kingdom has. And when I look at these numbers, both parks, start closing down at about 65,000 people. Disneyland actually does close down at 65 people. So as I was saying, both parks start to close at 65,000 people. Disneyland actually does close at 65,000, where Magic Kingdom starts what they call a phased closure. And a phased closure says if you don't have a dinner reservation, you're not an annual pass holder, different phases start blocking out different people. So it's really interesting that you can get all the way up to possibly 100,000 people at Magic Kingdom before they close off. And regardless, that's a lot of people. It's frustrating when you have that many people in there. We actually went recently, both on 4th of July and for the premiere of the new fireworks show, and there was nowhere to stand. Forget the fact that there was nowhere to walk. There was nowhere to stand. And we ended up watching the original fireworks show, or the new fireworks show, from the back lot area for the cast members because it was so packed. 4th of July, we ended up actually sitting down for the fireworks about an hour and a half to 2 hours before, and it was going all the way to the end of the street. Now, the good thing is that at Magic Kingdom, it actually would have been smarter to go to one of the hotels and watch them, especially because you have the barges. Even if you could do the transportation center, the barges were set up in the lake, which we'll talk about in a little bit, and those also shot off fireworks with the with the Magic Kingdom show. That was amazing. Really one of the better shows that I've seen there, and I was really excited about that. So that, you know, that's one of the things. When it gets crowded there, it gets super crowded. And there comes or lies one of the other big problems with Magic Kingdom that I see is when it's really crowded, or even when it's close to that 65,000 capacity, you have to do something with all of these people. And that is where Disneyland really starts to shine. Number one, yes, they start closing the gates at 65,000 people. But the number of things that they have for people to do is actually far greater at Disneyland. I did a quick comparison. I'm going to look at this here, and I'm going to try and put it to the side. So, at Disneyland, there are 28 rides where you are sitting on something and it is transporting you. Now, I did not count the riverboats, and I didn't count anything that was a show, so no tiki room there. As comparison, though, the Magic Kingdom only has 22 rides. When you think about that, that's a huge difference in where all these people have to go. We have seen lines at the Magic Kingdom that range anywhere between 2 and 4 hours long. At Disneyland, I actually can only think of Space Mountain that was ever close to that, and generally that's the one ride that does get up to the 2, 3, 4 hour. Okay, so as we're talking about rides, the other thing that was kind of interesting as I was starting this project was when I looked at the number of kid rides. Let's just take Fantasyland as an example. Fantasyland in Disneyland, almost everything I would consider a kid to be able to go on. There's no rides there where I would think that a kid would either be too scared or, there may not be tall enough for a specific ride. That's not so much the case at Magic Kingdom. Magic Kingdom, again, we have Disneyland at 12. Magic Kingdom has 9 rides. And of those 9 rides, one of them is the Dwarves ride, the 7 Dwarves Mine Car ride. And that one is a little bit more intense. I would say that almost any kid could go on it, but it is a little bit more intense, and it may be some more time before you could take a child on it.
And there's a height requirement.
There is a height requirement, too. Can I put you guys back in the frame here? So that's one of the things that I found really interesting with the way that the 2 different lands were set up. I will say that the refurbishment, or the overlay that they did to Fantasyland at the Magic Kingdom is spectacular. It's fun to walk through. You can look at so many things. You've got 3 or 4 different castles.
There's one path that needs to be labeled a little better, though.
The dead end.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's a path that leads to Storytime with Belle, I think it is. And we will turn down it still and get stuck on that path. So it's a little interesting from that perspective. But overall, it's just a gorgeous area. The Gaston's Tavern is good. The Ariel area is done very well. The Seven Dwarfs Mine Train is fantastic all the way around, and you can walk all the way around the ride without anything impeding it. So again, a really fun area, and I love it. But, when you start thinking about the e-ticket rides, that's another area where I kind of feel like Magic Kingdom doesn't quite meet Disneyland standards. Disneyland, one of the first things you'll find that you're missing when you come out to Florida is, where's Indiana Jones? Indiana Jones is still one of the longest lines at Disneyland that I have seen. It continues to be one of the longest lines because it's one of the best rides there. We always get fast passes for it. It's one of the things we always make sure we ride. And when you go to Magic Kingdom, you can immediately notice that it's missing. It's a very odd feeling that it's just not there. Another one that's a little weird, I love Pirates. I think most of us as kids, Pirates was either a waste of time or not our favorite ride. It definitely wasn't my favorite ride.
We loved it.
Yeah, it wasn't mine. But when you get to Magic Kingdom, I have to admit the very first time I ever rode it was a few years ago when we came before all the refurbishments. It was hot. It was muggy. Just didn't enjoy it. One of the things at Disneyland is you've got these 2 magnificent drops. And really it's the first drop that catches your attention. It's a nice deep drop. It's fun. I don't know, it just feels good. It's nice and dark.
And it's there because it has to take you underneath the train tracks.
Underneath the train, absolutely. At Disney, at Magic Kingdom, I have to admit, I didn't even remember that there were drops. I actually thought there weren't any. But the thing that I noticed about the drops, again, there's only 1 drop at Magic Kingdom versus the 2 at Disneyland. But it's a little drop, and it's rough. You immediately hit a turn, and when you hit that turn, you just feel the entire boat jar, which really can be painful, and has been painful on different occasions. So it's just one of those things that I notice. I still love the Pirates ride. I will go on it as often as I can. Generally, every time we're there, we try to go on it. It's a little bit longer line than at Disneyland. It doesn't seem to operate as quickly, but it's still a fun ride. Still enjoy it quite a bit.
I'm still upset about the change they're going to be doing at all of them.
Yes, the redhead change is upsetting everybody, we know, but, we also get it. There is reason behind it. The other area that I wanted to talk about was Tomorrowland. And the difference between Tomorrowland at Disneyland is 6 rides there, and there's also 6 rides at Magic Kingdom. There is one additional ride in Magic Kingdom called Stitch's Great Escape. It's a seasonal ride. I didn't count it, so actually there could be 7, but I also counted the Carousel Progress, though you could argue whether it was a ride or not. It's more of a show, but I did count it in the ride category because it does rotate. The one thing is that the Astro Blaster, not Astro Blaster. Well, the Astro Blaster is a good example of a difference. The Astro Blaster at both parks, Disneyland is actually on the ground, and at Magic Kingdom is up high still, which is kind of a nice change. Gives you another Dumbo type ride that's a little bit higher. But
Disneyland had one.
They did have one, yeah,
years ago, but
yeah. And then, they've got the People Mover at Magic Kingdom, which is a lot of fun. Not a lot of fun, but it's a great relaxing ride. But the one that I wanted to talk about the most, there we go, so you can focus, is Buzz Lightyear. And it's kind of an interesting thing. I've actually seen a lot of people say they love the Buzz Lightyear here at the Magic Kingdom, but there's no feedback. There's no sense that you hit anything. There's no lights on the gun. Unless you're looking at the score, which you shouldn't, you should be looking at the target, you have no clue if you hit anything.
The gun mechanism is different, too.
The gun mechanism is quite a bit different, yeah. The button is on the back, so you're hitting it with your thumb versus kind of a trigger of a gun pull. So that's kind of interesting, but you do get the feedback at Disneyland, which is more enjoyable, I find. So, those are some of the things about the rides. Oh, and the other thing I was talking about earlier with Fantasyland. When we looked at it, again, we said there were 12 rides at Disneyland versus the 9 and technically 8 at Magic Kingdom. When you think about the difference in rides, your kids are going to have a lot more fun at Disneyland. They're going to have more rides that they can ride and get on and do than they're going to have here at Magic Kingdom. So just a small thing, something that I noticed. The other thing was, I wanted to talk about restaurants for a moment. I don't remember there ever being a problem getting a reservation at Disneyland. If I wanted to eat somewhere, I could always eat somewhere.
With the exception of Blue Bayou last time we went.
But even at that, if we would have called or made reservations ahead, we could have done it. Blue Bayou, you need to get there either first thing in the morning and make a reservation, or you need to call or come a day early, make a reservation. You have options.
Barbecue place too, but we went right before they closed it.
Yeah, and I don't think the barbecue place is there anymore.
Big Thunder Ranch.
Yeah,
Big Thunder Ranch. There.
So, again, for the most part, we've ate everywhere at Disneyland with no problems. I mean, I can't think of a restaurant we haven't ate at, unless there's something we just couldn't find food for. That's not the case at Magic Kingdom. We still have not been able to get a reservation for Cinderella's Magic Table. We were very, very lucky to get one at Be Our Guest, and our reservation was for almost 9 o'clock at night. Oh, no, it was after 9 o'clock. It was after 9 o'clock at night. And we were very lucky to actually get that changed to like a 5 o'clock reservation last minute. Somebody canceled, we saw it, we grabbed it immediately.
I was stalking the app for cancellations.
Yeah. So we were lucky to eat there, and it was great food. It was actually a great experience. We absolutely loved it. But that's it's kind of frustrating. And the fact that you can't get anything there. That being said, there's 7 restaurants at Magic Kingdom versus the 5 at Disneyland. So there's definitely a lot less restaurants. But when you get quick service, when you talk about different types of food, and I'm only going with places that serve lunch and dinner, there are 16 different places to eat at Disneyland versus the 12 at Magic Kingdom. Now that being said, they're more theme park type food, and I get that. They're not going to be your best or your favorite type of food. But, again, you have more options. If you walk by a place and they're just busy, walk 25 more feet and you're going to find another place to eat at. That's one of the really nice things. And, again, if you want a restaurant, for the most part, you just walk in, get there in the morning, let them know you'd like a reservation, and go and get a reservation. One of my favorite non-quick service places that is not a restaurant is actually there in New Orleans Square, called the French Quarter.
French Market?
French Market or French Quarter. I forget what it is. Fantastic food, not quick service at all. Always tastes great. I would eat there every time I go.
The Plaza.
The Plaza.
It's not a restaurant, and it's not quite quick service.
You need reservations, so we've sat there for a couple hours.
The Plaza at Disneyland. Fried chicken.
Oh, the Plaza Inn. Yes, the Plaza Inn is not a quick
chicken.
service. The fried chicken, yes. That is a great one. I was thinking of Carnation Cafe. Carnation Cafe, you do need reservations for. Plaza Inn, another quick service place, not theme park food. Again, you have a lot of these options. There are some of those options at Magic Kingdom. You do have the Mexican place. I have to admit, I've never ate there. I can't think of the name of it. But, we've heard it's good. And again, not quick service type food.
I think we might have ate there when we came when she was little.
But highly doubt it.
I don't remember.
Yeah, I don't know. But for the most part, you'll notice as you start walking around, all the food is very quick service. We actually tried the place in Fantasyland. Again, apologize, can't remember the name of it. I could probably look it up real quick. But it had a baked macaroni and cheese with a breadcrumb topping. I wouldn't get it again. It was okay, but I wouldn't get it again. Any place that serves pizza, it's all the same theme park pizza. Not a great option. Hamburgers are all the same. There's a couple of places that do a barbecue pulled pork burger. Those are okay. But again, nothing fantastic. I will tell you right now, don't ever get a salad. Their salads are sitting out, I swear, under heat lamps, because the second you get them, they're wilted. That's one thing that's been really disappointing, because I love having a salad with my meal. And every time I get a salad, I'm just disappointed with it. There are a couple places in other parks where I've had the salads that are really good. You can see them making them fresh while you're ordering. And I do like that. And one of these days we will get to the other parks.
Gaston's Tavern.
That's the best
Cinnamon
breakfast.
rolls.
Yes.
They're delicious.
That did not get counted because it only does breakfast. But Gaston's Tavern, great place to go. We love going there first thing in the morning. Which brings me to my one real complaint. Everything else may have sounded like complaints. I can deal with all those. I still love going. I still love the park. But let's talk about what it takes to get into the park. You have two options. You have the monorail and you have the ferry boat. I have to admit, I just learned recently that the buses run in the morning and the monorail is almost always faster. But we try to take the boat. We enjoy the breeze, especially on hot days here in Florida. You can generally get on within 1 to 2 waits, but it can be over half an hour.
Sometimes you can take the buses.
Supposedly buses are there every morning and every night. We're gonna have to discuss. We're gonna have to look into that.
Yeah. The wait to get from Magic Kingdom back to your car on a bus, though,
it's been bad. But
nothing has been good.
Yeah, definitely that. So that brings me to the complaint. If you want to be there for rope drop, you have to be parked in the parking lot 1 hour before opening, because the commute to take the monorail to the transportation center, to pick the boat, the bus, the monorail, it doesn't matter. You're going to need at least another half hour, plus the walk to where rope drop is, which is generally at the hub. If it opens at 8 a.m., you're there by 7 in the morning. For us, we're a 45-minute commute away. That's very early in the morning. That is my one complaint. I love the other three parks for the simple reason that I don't have to take a boat into them. It just makes it so much simpler. There are other options. You could park in Epcot and maybe take the monorail in. Again, actually you couldn't. You'd still have to transfer monorail, so you don't have that as an option. So again, that's my one complaint. I don't enjoy that. The other thing is we love to walk from the park to our car. At Disneyland, we always walk from the park to our car at night. We walk from the parking lot back to the car if the lines were too bad. At the tram station, I want to say we looked it up, less than a mile and a half. It may not be a mile.
Yeah, I think it was a mile and a half.
Yeah, not very far. And we'd always walk it. We decided to try and walk this, thinking that, hey, you can either go, we thought you could go from the park over to the Grand Floridian. There is a waterway there that you can't cross. I mean, if you want to go for swimming, I guess you could, but alligator-infested water, I wouldn't recommend it. So you walk down this path that is clearly marked, beautiful path, cobblestones, a little hard to walk on because they're cobblestones, but cobblestones. You get to the end of it, and there's a line of bushes with a bench, and that's it. And you've probably walked close to half a mile to get to that point to find out you can't go any further. We call that Dawn's Road.
It's
off
my path.
her
It
path.
was my mistake.
Yeah. So we won't be doing that. I have seen you can walk, obviously, from the park to the Contemporary, jump on the monorail. You may be able to go from the Contemporary to the parking, or to the transit lot, but that would be definitely a long walk. Probably not recommended. We'll talk a lot more about our walking paths. We actually have walked from Magic Kingdom, with some transportation, Magic Kingdom all the way through Epcot, all the way through to Hollywood Studios without getting on anything but a monorail to get from Magic Kingdom over to Epcot, which was a lot of fun. I enjoyed, doing those longer walks. And that was a lot of miles. I'll just say that right now. So those are some of the big differences, some of the things that you got to look for, you got to expect. The last one that I'll bring up is a really odd one, and that's the shops. The shop count is actually much higher at Magic Kingdom, though I'm going to have to really research this one more, because the Magic Kingdom supposedly there's 42 different shops, where at Disneyland there are only 37 shops. Now, of course, the shops are there to get your money, but it still is a lot of fun to go into and check them out. One thing at Magic Kingdom is the shops, I think just because of the size, the shops are more spread out, so you're not seeing shop after shop after shop like you do at Disneyland. There's points where you can walk through multiple shops without even entering that little area, because, again, it is a smaller park. But the thing that I find most interesting about the shops is the uniqueness of the merchandise. At Magic Kingdom, you do have a pirate shop, which is great. You kind of have a spooky shop that I could say is like the Jack shop over by Haunted Mansion.
It's more Haunted Mansion stuff.
It is.
Than anything.
It's not really Jack stuff. And then when you go over to Tomorrowland, you don't have the unique shops like you would at Disneyland, where you have the Star Tours stuff, because there's no Star Tours here. It's one thing you have to remember. It's
at a different park.
Yeah, it's at a different park, so you don't have that, and we'll get into that park and that Star Tours type shop later, or in another episode, but these are some of the things that are very different. So when you go to Disneyland, you have a Jack shop, you have a pirate shop, you actually have crystal shop where you can get tiaras or different types of things. You have the pin shops, which both parks have. In the back, you have the Winnie the Pooh shop, which is a little bit bigger, and some of that merchandise can't be found anywhere else. I would say that at Magic Kingdom, most things you can find at the Emporium, with the exception of the pirate shop when I think about it. The pirate shop is probably the only time you can't find everything at the Emporium, but any other shop on premise, you could definitely go to the Emporium and find what you're looking for. You can't do certain things that you can at other shops. If you go to the very back and you go into the Star Space Mountain, they have a shop back there that has a lot of customizable bands and phone cases. They don't have those at the Emporium. They do have the bands and the cases, but they don't have the customized ones. So those are some of the differences. I kind of miss the unique shops. I think the shops were really interesting. And I gotta admit, I honestly miss New Orleans Square. I would never have thought of that as my favorite land until I didn't have it. But we spend most of our time at Magic Kingdom actually not in Tomorrowland, which is where I felt we spent a lot of time at Disneyland. We spent a lot of our time over in Adventureland and Liberty Square. And, I don't know, I was going to say, let me look at a map real quick here if they call it anything different. Yeah, Frontierland, Adventureland, Liberty Square. I would say those are where we spend the most time. Main Street. We really don't go over to Tomorrowland as much, because really in Tomorrowland, the only ride we would ride with any consistency would be...
the People Mover.
No, People Mover. But would be Space Mountain. And since I haven't talked about it, Space Mountain. It's rough. It's a lot rougher. The only seat that I can sit in that I enjoy is the very front. Any other seat just feels like a very rough experience. I've actually read a lot of reviews from people talking about how much they don't enjoy Space Mountain at Magic Kingdom simply because of how rough it is. And
I usually end up with a headache afterwards, and I'm not very happy the rest of the day. So
yeah, I mean you have seats, 6 seats per 2 cars, three seats in each car, lined up, so you're not sitting next to each other. So if you have smaller kids, you will not want to go on this. If you like to sit next to them.
I ride with my arm stretched out, holding on to her shoulder.
Yeah. So if you want to be next to your child, you can't do that in these rides. It's not even an option. So that's something that's a little bit different, a little odd about it. And again, it's not as enjoyable. So I think that's why we don't spend as much time there. We don't have Star Tours. We don't have, we don't enjoy the Space Mountain as much. We don't ride Autopia. We've never really done Autopia. When you have long legs, Autopia just hurts. So we don't really ride Autopia. Looking forward to the Tron ride.
coaster.
Yeah, the Tron coaster looks awesome. If you haven't seen it, the Shanghai video, I highly recommend going to look at the Tron coaster in Shanghai. And I'm trying to think what else. I mean, we don't ride Buzz. We do ride the People Mover quite a bit. We like the People Mover. We generally go see the Carousel Progress show.
It's like 20 minutes and air conditioned.
Yeah. I will say, in my opinion, it has a little bit of a smell. It's aging.
It is supposed to be getting a refurb.
That would be nice, because it is definitely starting to get a smell. And yeah, I'm trying to think of what else is over there. I mean, we love...
There's Stitch, but...
Stitch we don't ride. We really don't ride anything else over there. So we...
the only other thing over there is the Monster Laugh Floor.
Yeah, and, after you've done that a couple times, doesn't seem like something we continue to do. But then we've got, Mine Train. Mine Train is one of our favorites. Mine Train is absolutely awesome. The Fast Passes are getting easier to get, which makes it even more fun because you can ride it more often. We surprisingly haven't done Goofy's Flight School. Is that what it's called? I don't know what they're talking about. They're talking about something, so let me look at what this one's called. Oh, I might have the wrong map.
Yeah.
Nope, I had the right map. What is the Goofy ride called?
Barnstormer.
Barnstormer. We don't ride Barnstormer, but we really like Barnstormer. Barnstormer is a really good ride. It's a lot of fun.
It's a kiddie coaster, and our kiddie is
A little
going on
bigger.
11.
Yeah, and I will say, yes, it's a kiddie coaster, but there's
It's like Gadget at Disneyland.
Yeah, it is. But there are other kiddie coasters I've been on that I get off and I have no interest to ever ride them again. We'll talk about one of those down the road at one of the other theme parks out here, but it's definitely a more fun ride. We've got Little Mermaid. We don't go on that very often.
Same as that California.
Same as the California Adventure. In the kiddie area, or not the kiddie area, in Fantasyland, really, we have Small World, which is all indoors. We've got Peter Pan, which is identical to Peter Pan. We've got the Carousel.
Line's just as long.
Yeah, line is just as long. You'll never ride that ride. The line is horrible. We've got, what did I say?
The
Carousel. What else do we have?
There's Winnie the Pooh.
Winnie the Pooh. Winnie the Pooh is pretty much identical.
I like it a little more than Disneyland.
Yeah, they're a little different. The carts are even a little different.
There's Dumbo. There's two here.
Two Dumbos. One for Fast Passes, one for non. And then we also have teacups. That should be all
I
of
like
them
Disneyland's better.
Yep. When we get over to Haunted Mansion, Haunted Mansion here is better stock, but definitely miss Jack in the Christmas time. Jack is one of my favorites. I'll always miss Jack. As we move around the park, we've got Splash Mountain. Splash Mountain's great. Big Thunder's great. Tell you.
I like Big Thunder better here. It seems faster.
Yeah, I definitely can tell they're different, but I don't know. There's some things that are the same, and they're supposed to be doing some refurbs to make scenes of it more like Disneyland.
Yeah, they're adding the explosion.
Splash Mountain seems identical. There may be some little differences, but seems identical. My favorite part is when it's like a roller coaster and you go up and down before you hit the water.
The bunny hop.
Yeah, the bunny hop. That's one of my favorites. That brings us over to Pirates. We talked about Pirates earlier, so I'm not talking about Pirates again, but definitely Disneyland's my favorite.
Jungle Cruise.
And Jungle Cruise is different. Jungle Cruise has a little mountain that you go into, and
temple.
And the skipper actually doesn't talk during that part, at least in the few times we've been on it. So that's been a little different. I think that really takes us around the park. The only thing that would be left, the Tiki Room's identical, and there's the Treehouse.
Swiss Family.
Yeah, Swiss Family versus Tarzan. And we have not been to the island yet, only because every time we think about going, it's the hottest day of the year. And, I say that because the humidity here is so high that it just always seems to get hotter. But we're coming out of summer, the humidity is going to start dropping, so we're looking forward to that, and I think we'll, be able to go and do that and see what that's all about, because I think that would be fun. But overall, that's my review. I still love Magic Kingdom. I don't want anybody to think that I don't. What is different is just that Magic Kingdom does have less rides. It doesn't have some of the better rides at it that, you think of when you go to Disneyland. Again, Indiana Jones missing really just hurts the whole thing. I think that's one of the staples whenever we go. And I miss some of the food. I definitely do miss some of the food. And then again, the big complaint is that boat or monorail or having to get from the transportation center over. There's no way to get around that, and I think that's a big mistake. I hope that we find out that the buses are moving, but again, from what I've heard, the buses only run during the morning and the evening. So if you get there at noon, which we frequently do, 1, 2 o'clock, we still have to pick one of those options. Good news is that late in the day, it's fairly quick. You can usually get on the very next boat, monorail, whatever you need to do, and get right over to the park. But it's still 30, 45 minutes that you're losing out on. So, kind of interested in what all you guys think, if this was helpful. If you've been to both parks, do you agree or disagree? And I think that's all I got.
Yeah.
Okay.
Disneyland does have a different feel to me. It's hard to explain.
Well, and I think we'll have to talk about that more when we get into the other parks. When you bring all the parks together, there's definitely something that's a little bit different. Again, I love the fact that there's the 4 parks here. We get a lot of interesting things that are going on, but we'll talk more about the ambiance between the parks. And at some point, we're also going to do a Christmas review. We're going to the Halloween party, so we'll actually be able to do a Halloween review too, because this will be the second time.
I'll tell you later.
Okay, this will be. We've been to the Disneyland one just a few years ago. It wasn't that long ago. Now we're going to the Disney World one. We're really looking forward to that. We've got the Hocus Pocus show this year, which I think will be fantastic.
And Hollow Wishes.
And Hollow Wishes.
And the parade.
So yeah, we've got all kinds of things going on. I think that's going to be awesome. We are going to go to that, so we'll do a review of that. But I don't know if we'll make it to the Merry Christmas here. We did that a few years ago. We've never done the Disneyland one.
Disneyland doesn't have one.
Okay, Disneyland doesn't have one, but we'll talk a little bit more about the Magic Kingdom and Christmas in another video. I think this one's been long enough. I apologize for the 30-plus minute video that you guys are going to have here, but I hope that was helpful, and we'll talk to you guys later.
See you real soon. Bye.
Okay, guys, just needed to add 2 things. Probably just one, but 2 things. One of the big things about Magic Kingdom that is a little frustrating, and this is actually more related to all the parks, that's why I didn't include it earlier, but I thought I would say it, is that if you want to enjoy a nighttime activity, you can do one. You can do the fireworks, because that's all they have at Magic Kingdom. They do not have Fantasmic. But if you go to one of the other parks, I won't say it now, we'll talk about it later, there is 2 shows going on at exactly the same time, so you have to pick which show you want. You also can't park hop for the shows. You can't go to like one park, watch a show, and come back to another. It's frustrating. It is one of the frustrations I have. The last thing is we were talking about the transportation from the park to your car. If you go enjoy one of these shows, it's going to be a long night. We have stayed for, again, some of the bigger shows, bigger activities, 4th of July being a specific one, over 2 hours to get from the park to our car. That was even after waiting for everything to die down, giving it a little bit of time, it was still a 2-hour wait. And it's not very well organized. It's one thing, Disney generally organizes everything very well. At both events, they were not organized very well. It was very frustrating to get back. So, just wanted to add those 2 because I've remembered them while we were sitting here talking, and I thought that would interest people. But again, you can't sit there and watch Fantasmic like at Disneyland and then stay and watch the fireworks. That's not going to be a possibility. It's not like you can run from Disneyland's fireworks over and watch World of Color, though World of Color does have 2 shows some nights, so you might be able to do something like that. But it's definitely not going to happen at Magic Kingdom. And then the fact that when everything is said and done, you can't just walk out of the park and walk to your car and go home. You have to stand in some type of line to get back to where you want. One of the things I'd like to try one night is to walk over to the Contemporary and get on the monorail and see if that's a little bit better, because we do often take the resort monorail when we're leaving when it's really busy. But even at that, it's a very long wait, so maybe that walk would neglect the wait, because I hate standing, and then we could just get on there and go. Anyway, I just thought I'd add those. Everybody have a good evening, and I'll talk to you later. Bye.